What if I told you that the reality you're living right now is not fixed? What if the struggles you face, the limits you feel, and even the patterns that keep repeating in your life are not permanent? Imagine for a moment that reality itself is more flexible than you've been taught to believe, that it bends, it shifts, and it reshapes itself, not by chance, but by the way you think, feel, and focus your mind. This isn't fantasy. This is science meeting ancient wisdom, and in the next 24 minutes, you're going to discover how to take that power into your own hands. Most people go through life thinking reality is something that happens to them. They wake up, react to circumstances, and accept things as they are. But here's the truth. Your mind is not just a passive observer. It is the architect. Neuroscience has already proven that your brain rewires itself based on what you focus on. Psychologists have shown that your beliefs act like a lens, filtering how you see the world. Even in medicine, the placebo effect reveals how expectation alone can change the body. If belief can heal, if perception can alter biology, then ask yourself, what else can it do? This is why you cannot afford to drift through life unaware. Every thought you repeat, every belief you hold, every image you let play in your head, it all programs the reality you step into. Some people unknowingly program chaos. Others train their minds to attract opportunities, solutions, and breakthroughs. The difference is not luck. The difference is control. And today I'm going to show you how to take it back. By the end of this video, you'll understand why your reality is not as solid as it seems. You'll learn how to use perception as a tool, how to shift your beliefs so they start working for you, and how to turn visualization from a daydream into a trigger for action. You'll see how small, consistent shifts in the way you think can literally rewire the structure of your brain, changing the path of your life. And here's the part most people miss: controlling reality is not about forcing things to happen. It's about aligning your inner world so powerfully that the outer world has no choice but to reflect it. Stay with me until the end, because I'll share an exercise that can flip a belief you've been carrying for years. It only takes a few minutes, but once you experience it, you'll never see your thoughts the same way again. This is not just about learning, it's about transformation. And transformation begins the moment you realize that reality is not written in stone, it's written in your mind. So if you've ever felt stuck, trapped, or powerless, I want you to listen closely, because in the next 24 minutes, you'll learn how to control your reality using the power of your mind, and once you see how it works, you'll never forget it. Before we talk about the idea of controlling reality, let's clear up a common misunderstanding. Many people hear the phrase and imagine it means forcing the world to bend to their will. They think it's about making every event go their way, or demanding that circumstances magically change overnight. But that's not what true control is about. Reality is bigger than us. We can't stop the sun from rising, or prevent challenges from showing up in life. What we can do, and what makes all the difference, is choose how we see those challenges, and how we respond to them. That is where the real power lies. Think about this: two people can go through the exact same event, and have completely different experiences. One person feels crushed, hopeless, and defeated. The other sees the same event as a lesson, a turning point, even an opportunity to grow. The world outside didn't change. The difference was in perception. This is the heart of controlling reality, not changing the storm, but choosing how you navigate through it. When you understand this, you stop wasting energy fighting what's out of your hands, and you start building strength where it matters most, inside your own mind. Your perception is like a filter. Imagine looking through a pair of glasses with dark lenses. Everything seems gloomy, heavy, and unclear. Now imagine switching to clear, bright lenses. The world outside hasn't changed, but the way you see it has. That's what perception does. It colors your reality. When you choose to shift your lens by reframing a problem, by finding meaning in difficulty, by reminding yourself of your strengths, you don't erase the problem, but you change your relationship to it. Suddenly, what felt impossible starts to feel manageable. Responding is the second part of this. Life will always bring situations that test you. Some are small, like traffic jams or rude comments. Others are big, like loss, setbacks, or unexpected changes. You can't stop these things from happening, but you can decide your response. Do you react with anger, fear, or despair? Or do you take a breath, look at the bigger picture, and choose a response that protects your peace? Every response you choose becomes a thread in the fabric of your reality. Over time, those threads weave a life that feels either chaotic and stressful, or calm and meaningful. This is why controlling reality isn't about bending the universe. It's about mastering the only part of reality that you truly own, your inner world. When you learn to guide your thoughts, you guide your feelings. When you guide your feelings, you guide your actions. And when your actions are shaped with clarity instead of confusion, your life begins to shift. What you once saw as impossible starts to open up. What once felt like defeat becomes the beginning of strength. The world may not change in that moment, but you have, and that changes everything. Your thoughts are not just private whispers in your mind. They are the lens through which you experience everything. Each belief you hold, each story you repeat to yourself, acts like a filter over your vision. Two people can stand in the same place, see the same events unfold, yet walk away with entirely different realities. Why? Because reality is not only what happens outside, reality is what your mind does with it. That means the thoughts you allow to grow inside you determine how bright or how dark your world feels. Beliefs run even deeper. They are the quiet programs running in the background, shaping your daily choices and reactions without you even noticing. If you carry the belief that life is unfair, you will find evidence of unfairness everywhere you look. A missed opportunity will feel like proof. A small challenge will feel like the world working against you. On the other hand, if you believe life is filled with possibilities, you will notice chances where others see dead ends. You will interpret setbacks as lessons instead of punishments. The belief doesn't just sit in your mind. It decides which parts of reality you focus on and which you ignore. Interpretations are the bridge between thought and reality. Events happen, but your interpretation gives them meaning. Think of a friend who doesn't return. One interpretation says, "They must be ignoring me. I'm not important." Another interpretation says, "They're probably busy. I'll hear from them later." Same event, two meanings, two realities. The difference isn't in the outside world. The difference is in the lens you choose to see through. That choice influences how you feel, how you act, and what happens next. The power of this lens becomes clear when you notice how it shapes emotions. A single thought can spark anxiety, or it can spark calm. A belief can weigh you down with fear, or lift you up with confidence. When you tell yourself a story of failure, your body reacts with stress. When you tell yourself a story of resilience, your body relaxes into possibility. Over time, these patterns become habits, and those habits create the life you live. What's remarkable is that this lens is not fixed. You can adjust it, just as you can swap out glasses with stronger clarity. You can swap out thoughts and beliefs for ones that serve you better. It starts with awareness. When you notice the stories running through your head, you gain the power to question them. You can ask, is this belief helping me, or holding me back? Is this interpretation the only one, or could there be another way to see this? That simple act of questioning shifts the lens, and when the lens shifts, reality itself feels different. Your world is not only a reflection of external events, it is a reflection of the inner stories you choose to carry. Those stories are the lens, and the lens is in your control. A fixed mindset whispers that you are who you are, and nothing can really change. It tells you that your intelligence is set, your talents are fixed, and your abilities have limits you cannot break. When you carry this belief, every challenge feels like a test of worth. Failure doesn't look like a lesson. It looks like proof that you're not enough. Mistakes feel final. Struggles feel like walls. With this mindset, you begin to avoid risks, because risks might expose weakness. You stay in the safe zone, repeating the same patterns, convinced that's all you're capable of. Life starts to feel smaller, tighter, and more limited, not because the world closed its doors, but because the mindset you carry keeps you locked inside. Now imagine a different lens, a growth mindset. This mindset says you are not finished. It tells you that your intelligence, your talents, your skills, and even your character can evolve. It believes that with effort, practice, and resilience, you can expand beyond where you are now. Suddenly, failure isn't final. It becomes feedback. Struggles are no longer proof of weakness. They are the raw material of growth. With this perspective, challenges don't feel like walls. They feel like stepping stones. Every setback holds the possibility of progress. Life feels larger because you see paths forward where others only see dead ends. This shift changes the way you respond to everyday life. In a fixed mindset, criticism stings deeply because it feels like an attack on who you are. In a growth mindset, criticism becomes useful information, something that can help you improve. In a fixed mindset, the success of others makes you feel smaller, like there's less left for you. In a growth mindset, the success of others becomes inspiration, showing you what's possible. One mindset locks you into comparison and fear. The other opens you to learning and resilience. The difference is not subtle, it's transformative. Consider the student who believes they're bad at math. In a fixed mindset, they avoid problems, skip practice, and carry shame. But in a growth mindset, they approach the same subject with curiosity. They may struggle, but each problem solved builds confidence. Over time their skills expand, and so does their belief in what they can do. The same principle applies everywhere, in relationships, careers, health, creativity, even personal healing. The mindset you carry sets the boundaries of what feels possible. The beautiful truth is that mindsets are not permanent. You can shift from fixed to growth by paying attention to the words you use with yourself. Instead of saying, "I can't do this," you learn to say, "I can't do this yet." That one small word, "yet," keeps the door open. It reminds you that growth is always an option. And when you carry that belief, you stop fearing effort. You start embracing it, knowing that every step, even the hard ones, are moving you toward expansion. The mind doesn't stop at shaping thoughts. It reaches into the body in ways that science is only beginning to fully understand. Expectation, belief, and mental focus can create measurable physical changes. Think of the placebo effect, one of the most well-documented phenomena in medicine. A patient is given a sugar pill, but told it is a powerful drug. Their body responds as if they had taken real medicine. Pain eases, symptoms fade, and healing begins. Nothing physical was delivered to the body, yet the expectation of healing triggered the body's own ability to repair itself. This isn't just imagination. Studies have shown that when someone believes a treatment will work, their brain releases chemicals like endorphins and dopamine that mimic the effects of real medicine. The mind sends signals, the body responds, and a new state of health begins to take shape. This reveals a hidden truth. Your thoughts and expectations are not just mental events, they are biological instructions. The opposite is also true. Expect the worst, and the body often follows. This is known as the nocebo effect. When someone believes a harmless pill will cause side effects, they often experience those very symptoms: headaches, nausea, fatigue, real physical responses, born from belief. The mind doesn't simply reflect reality, it helps to create it within the body. Everyday life gives countless examples. Stress is a prime one. A worrying thought triggers the release of stress hormones. Your heart rate climbs, muscles tighten, digestion slows, and the body braces for a threat. The thought itself may have no physical danger, yet the body reacts as though it's under attack. Over time, repeated stressful thinking wears down the immune system and makes illness more likely. On the other hand, calming thoughts, deep breathing, and hopeful beliefs trigger the relaxation response. The body lowers stress hormones, blood pressure steadies, and healing processes resume. Even performance is shaped by expectation. Athletes who visualize success often improve their actual performance. Their muscles and nervous system begin to fire in patterns that mirror real practice, just from mental rehearsal. Believing in the possibility of achievement primes the body to move toward it. Belief becomes a form of training, as powerful as physical drills.
Consider also the role of identity. If you think of yourself as weak, your body tends to act in line with that thought. If you carry the expectation of strength, resilience, or recovery, your body often rises to match it. It's not magic, it's biology responding to belief. Every expectation plants a seed in the body, and the body grows in alignment with it. This is why expectation cannot be dismissed as wishful thinking. It is a signal, shaping hormones, activating neural pathways, and guiding physical outcomes. Your mind is not floating above your body, separate and detached. It is deeply connected, writing instructions that your body listens to every single day. Your brain is not a machine that gets built once and stays the same forever. It is alive, flexible, and always changing. Scientists call this neuroplasticity, the ability of the brain to rewire itself based on experience, repetition, and thought patterns. Every time you think a thought, you activate a pathway in your brain. If you think that thought again and again, the pathway becomes stronger, like a trail in the forest that grows wider with use. The more you walk it, the easier it becomes to travel. This is why habits of thought matter so much. They aren't just ideas floating in your mind. They are physical connections in your brain. When you constantly tell yourself, "I can't," that pathway becomes carved into your brain. It becomes automatic to doubt yourself, automatic to hesitate. But the opposite is also true. When you practice thoughts like, "I can learn this," or "I can handle this," you begin to strengthen those pathways instead. Over time, your brain adapts. What once felt unnatural becomes natural. What once felt impossible begins to feel like your normal way of thinking. This is not just motivational talk, it's how the brain physically works. Habits are the tools that shape these pathways. When you repeat a habit, you are training your brain to fire in the same way over and over again. Think of someone who practices gratitude daily. At first it might feel forced to look for small things to appreciate, but with repetition, the brain learns to scan for positives automatically. The habit rewires perception itself. Suddenly the same life feels lighter, because the brain is tuned to notice what's good instead of what's missing. The same process applies to negative habits too. If you constantly complain, your brain gets better at spotting problems. If you dwell on fears, your brain strengthens the pathways of worry. The good news is that no matter how long you've practiced a certain pattern, you can always create a new one. The brain is never too old, too stuck, or too rigid to change. Neuroplasticity is lifelong. It means that with intention and repetition, you can literally rebuild the way your mind works. This is why consistent practice is more powerful than short bursts of inspiration. A single positive thought is like stepping once on a path, but a daily habit is like walking that path until it becomes the main road your brain takes. Whether it's journaling, meditation, affirmations, or focused practice, each small habit sends a signal. It tells the brain, "This is important, strengthen this pathway," and the brain listens. Understanding this gives you both responsibility and hope. Responsibility, because every repeated thought is shaping you. Hope, because it means you can take charge of the process. You are not stuck with the brain you had yesterday. You can rewire it, step by step, habit by habit, thought by thought, until your inner world matches the reality you want to live. What you see, hear, and experience is not just the raw information coming from the outside world. Your brain is not a camera that simply records reality. It is more like a storyteller, weaving together what comes in from your senses with the beliefs, memories, and expectations you already carry inside. Every moment, your mind is filling in the blanks, shaping the edges, and coloring your experience with meaning. This is why two people can look at the same situation and walk away with completely different versions of reality. The event was shared, but the interpretation was personal. External input is only the starting point. Light enters your eyes, sound reaches your ears, sensations travel from your body. But before this information reaches your conscious awareness, your brain filters it. It compares it against what you already believe, what you've learned, and what you expect. If you believe the world is dangerous, you notice threats first. If you believe people are kind, you notice gestures of goodwill more easily. Your beliefs act like a spotlight, highlighting certain details and leaving others in the dark. What you call reality is really a blend of what's out there and what's inside you. This blending becomes clear when you think about how memories work. Memory is not a perfect recording of the past, it is a reconstruction. Each time you recall an event, your brain pulls fragments together and fills in gaps with your current beliefs and emotions. That means your past can subtly change as your present perspective changes. You're not just recalling reality, you're recreating it. The same principle applies in the moment. Your brain takes sensory input and stitches it together with belief, forming a reality that feels solid but is deeply influenced by the lens you carry. Think about meeting someone new. If you believe people can't be trusted, you might notice their hesitations, their tone or their body language in a way that confirms your suspicion. But if you believe most people are good, you might notice their smile, their openness, or their effort to connect. The person didn't change. The input was the same. What changed was the belief shaping perception. The reality you experienced was created at the meeting point of outside signals and inside filters. Even illusions show us this process. When your brain is presented with incomplete or confusing input, it fills in what it thinks should be there. Sometimes it gets it wrong, and you see something that isn't really there. But this doesn't just happen in tricks or illusions. It happens all the time in daily life. Your brain is constantly predicting, filling, and editing what you perceive. You rarely notice, because the story it creates feels seamless. This is why perception is powerful. Reality is not only happening outside of you, it is being shaped inside of you. The mind doesn't just reflect the world, it actively participates in making the version of the world you live in. The line between what is out there and what is in here is thinner than it seems, and every belief you hold plays a role in shaping what you call real. When you repeat a thought again and again, it begins to sink beneath the surface of your awareness. A single thought might feel like nothing at first, almost like a passing breeze, but repetition gives it weight and roots. The mind thrives on patterns, and when a pattern is reinforced daily, it starts to form a foundation for how you interpret life. The catch, however, is that the thought must feel believable. If you repeat something that feels fake or disconnected from your experience, your mind rejects it. It feels hollow, almost like repeating words in a language you don't understand. But when the thought is even slightly aligned with what you can accept as possible, the repetition becomes powerful. Believability is the bridge that connects words to transformation. For example, telling yourself "I am a billionaire right now" might clash with the reality your senses recognize, and the disbelief will block it. But saying "I am open to receiving more opportunities for wealth" feels closer to the truth, something your mind can accept and nurture. Over time, this thought plants seeds of openness, making you notice chances you once overlooked. The brain responds not to wild fantasies but to ideas that carry even a spark of truth in your heart. Once it has something to hold on to, repetition transforms that spark into a steady flame. The more you repeat, the more your mind searches for evidence to support the idea. This is how confirmation bias works. Your brain loves to validate what it already believes. If you tell yourself every day, "I attract supportive people," soon you'll notice moments of kindness that you might have ignored before. Those experiences then strengthen the belief and the cycle continues. This loop gradually reshapes your inner world, where your thoughts and experiences work together to create a sense of reality that feels stable and empowering. Consistency is more important than intensity. You don't need to shout affirmations or force emotions. You need to gently remind yourself of the belief you want to grow. Just like water carving stone over time, quiet repetition reshapes your mental landscape. Each time you think the thought, you are training your mind to see the world differently. Slowly the gap between what you imagine and what you live begins to close, not because the world instantly changes, but because you begin to interact with it from a new perspective. The beauty of this practice is that it doesn't demand perfection. Even if doubt arises, returning to the thought again keeps the process alive. What once felt like a stretch can become second nature. Believability expands as your mind adjusts, allowing you to introduce bigger and more daring ideas over time. That's how repeating believable thoughts builds a new inner world, one that feels natural, steady, and possible. Over time, this quiet mental training begins to ripple outward, changing the way life unfolds around you. When you consciously shift your frame, you begin to see that nothing outside of you has absolute meaning until you decide what it means. The same event can feel like a crushing defeat or an empowering lesson depending on the perspective you choose. This shift isn't about pretending everything is positive. It's about reclaiming your ability to decide how you interpret what happens to you. Once you realize that meaning is not fixed but flexible, you recognize that you are the author of your own inner story. That awareness alone gives you the power to move from feeling stuck to feeling free. Your feelings flow from the story you tell yourself, not from the raw event itself. Think of a time when someone didn't reply to your message. One version of the story might be, "They're ignoring me, I'm not important." Another version might be, "They're busy right now, it doesn't mean anything about me." Notice how the first version breeds hurt, while the second allows you to remain calm. Nothing in the outer world has changed, but by shifting the frame of interpretation, your emotions shift, and as your emotions shift, your actions follow. The beauty of this process is that it isn't about denial. It's not about rejecting pain or pretending that challenges don't exist. It's about consciously choosing a frame that supports your growth and keeps you moving forward. When you decide to see setbacks as lessons, your brain rewires to look for solutions rather than dwell in despair. That single choice alters your state of being, and as your state changes, the energy you carry into your actions changes too. People respond differently to you, opportunities show up in ways you couldn't have planned, and momentum builds around you because you shifted from a reactive stance to a creative one. This frame-shifting process isn't a one-time act, it's a practice. Every day brings you chances to choose your meaning. A traffic jam can be seen as wasted time, or it can be seen as a gift of stillness in a rushed day. A critical comment can feel like a personal attack, or it can feel like feedback that helps you clarify your voice. The way you frame each moment becomes the lens through which your reality unfolds, and as you practice reframing, it becomes automatic. You'll find yourself responding with calm, with patience, with resilience, simply because you trained your mind to seek the most empowering story. When you shift the frame, you're not just changing how you think, you're altering your emotional state, your body language, your decisions, and the ripple of actions that follow. A person who frames rejection as failure might stop trying, while someone who frames it as redirection might push forward with even more clarity. This is how conscious reframing doesn't just stay in your head, it writes the script of your life. It's one of the simplest yet most powerful tools you have, and it's available to you in every moment. You don't need magic to change your life. The power has always been inside you. Your mind, your habits, and your daily actions create the reality you experience. The way you think, the way you choose, the way you respond, these are the tools that shape your world. With just 24 minutes a day dedicated to awareness, practice, and aligned action, you can learn to control your reality, not by forcing the outside to bend to your will, but by mastering the inside so the world reflects the shift you've already made. If this message spoke to you, make sure to like this video and subscribe to our channel for more powerful insights to guide your journey.